Thanks to all of you for coming today. This is the Give Yourself a Raise in 2016 webinar on a Friday afternoon. If you've got your, if you're on the East Coast and you've got your cold beverage, okay, great. Or if you're in England, maybe you've had a few already, but that's fine. So what we're going to talk about today is how to really expand your income streams and really get more out of your travel writing career to actually make some real money at this instead of it being just a kind of a sideline hobby. And you're in the right place if maybe you're a frustrated freelancer who has not quite figured out this blogging thing, or you're not making as much as you would like from your freelance writing. If the pay rates are getting to you. If you're a blogger who can't seem to get traction or can't seem to get past the plateau point, or maybe you think you're spending some time on the wrong things and you want to get some other things in the mix and maybe focus your efforts a little bit so that you can do more with your money, do more with your time, then you're probably in the right place. And we're going to talk some about book publishing and what that can do for your writing career and how you can turn that into another income stream. So if you've been curious about that, or if you've got a book out and you're thinking of doing another, then we'll go over that as well. Or maybe you're just tired of seeing some other people talk about how much money's rolling in and you want to get some of that action for you. And maybe you think there's a little luck involved and you'd like some of that luck to come your way too. But you know, we've got a great gig. We travel around the world, people wine and dine us. We get to visit exotic places and talk to interesting people. The problem is we just could use a little more money, that's all. So what we're going to talk about today is what six-figure writers do differently, how they get to that point, and the three main revenue sources. There's a lot of buckets within those revenue sources, but that would be freelance writing, blogging, and books or products. And then we're going to talk about strategies on how to dramatically raise your income by specializing in a subject or having a certain angle or subject matter where you are the perceived expert or you're the go-to person on that. And if you stick around till the end, there's going to be a few downloads, and we will I'll give you access to those, and you can go get those as soon as we're done. One of them will be on 54 potential income streams for travel writers, and the other is a focus worksheet to try to help you find the intersection of what your passion is and what people are willing to pay for. So I did a survey for this new edition of Travel Writing 2.0, the book I just put out a couple weeks ago. And the encouraging thing is earnings overall are up quite a bit from where they were when I did this in 2009. The really interesting thing is if you look down here at the end, there are a lot more people making six figures than there were before. And there are also a few more people in those middle categories. The challenge is getting past that chasm, you know, to get to that level. But a lot more people are getting to that level than before. So I'm very encouraged by that. There seem to be more people making a good living at this than there were even just 6 years ago. And I think that's mostly because people have found a lot better way to monetize their own platform and actually make money from their own publishing company or their own body of work than from having to depend on somebody else and going to get permission. So that's an encouraging thing. So little quick bit about my past. I didn't do this for my whole life, but I have been a travel writer about 20 years. I started out in the music business. I studied music and business in university. I went on to work for RCA Records in Nashville and New York City back when they still had records in their name. I've been around a while. And back when the music business was still a really fun place with lots of cash coming in. And then I met my future wife in New York City, and she said, I'm going to go traveling around the world, and I'd like it if you went with me. But if you don't, I'm going anyway. And I thought long and hard about that and said, all right, I'm with you. So we packed up everything in a backpack, took what savings we had, and we went traveling around the world on the cheap. and we didn't kill each other after those 12 months of being together 24/7. So we came back home for a bit, got married, and then we took off again. And we went traveling around the world for 2 more years. And I really started getting some traction then as a travel writer, started getting some things published, but it was never really enough to live on. We were English as a second language teachers in Istanbul and in Seoul, and made a lot there that we're able to keep traveling on for a while. And then I had a baby and decided I need to be responsible for a while. So I went and got one of those dreaded cubicle jobs. I worked as a proposal manager for a tech company, and did my commute every day, worked in my cubicle and was bored stiff, but got a nice salary. And then that's when I started to really put more things out as a travel writer, and I wrote a book and started a blog. And then eventually this started to turn into something that I realized was a viable source of income. And then I eventually just ditched it all, the corporate job, and went full-time pro as a travel writer and blogger. And from 2005 on, basically, I've been doing this and making a bit more money each year. But when I was getting started and going out on my own, I kept hearing this advice. There were no podcasts then, really, but there were lots of interviews in other media and lots of articles and books. And these online media people in the .com era just kept saying, well, you really need to focus on one thing and really get that rolling. And this is when there was lots of angel capital floating around. But that wasn't what I saw in the real world, and it's definitely not what I see today. I saw the people that were really successful doing 5, 6, 8, 10 different things and making different ones a success. They weren't all successes, but enough of them were that they got very rich in the process. And I thought, well, on a smaller scale in the creative arts, I think this makes a lot more sense. So I began building up a real portfolio of businesses, different websites. I was still writing for others online and in print. I was doing book sales, and just doing whatever I could to get out there and hustle. Did ghostwriting for book authors. I did a lot of corporate newsletters, things like that. And I completely unshackled myself from the corporate world and was able to just run my business on my own terms and support a family of 3 from it. So kind of the idea I developed from this was this whole idea of having multiple income streams and being able to sleep better at night, because there was much less of a roller coaster. And if one thing really went down the tubes, it was not going to be the end of the world. A lot of bloggers really got hit hard when the whole panda and penguin update came through on Google, and all of a sudden that whole business of selling text links went away. I mean, I felt a little pain from that, but I had a whole lot of other things going on. Some other people, that was all they had to depend on, and they basically just ended up quitting after that or totally going into a different business. So the idea is having multiple sources of income coming from multiple places, and not just being dependent on one thing. And then number 3 there is a little bit of a side note, but if you can create a business that does not depend on you, that's not all about you, that can run without you, or can be about a subject where your face is not front and center, then that has value apart from you, and you can monetize it or sell it much easier. So this is my portfolio of websites. I started the Cheapest Destinations blog in 2003, and it's one of the top 50 blogs in the world by traffic, travel blogs. Definitely one of the most popular single-person ones. And then I started other sites over the years that are aimed at different audiences, including going all the way up to the scale to the luxury side. And Practical Travel Gear, I started in 2009. It was profitable for 5.5 of its 6 years. And I sold it last year because I just had too much on my plate, and I was able to sell that within a few weeks and make mid-5 figures from it. So it was definitely a good move. Helped me put a bit of money in the bank and save for retirement, all those good things. I was able to do that because it was not all about me. Really, all of these sites, only one has my name on it, and even that one, I think, get it sold to someone else in the future if I wanted to really scale back from that as well. So I'm going to go through these 3 income streams, but this is kind of the overview. In the future, I think the spoils are really going to go to those who specialize. In the old print freelance days, it was kind of advantageous to be a generalist. If you could write about anything and anything and everything and everywhere, then you got a lot more assignments because you could write for all kinds of different big magazines and get lots of corporate work and business to business work and whatever. And back then, the media was all print only, so and television. So really, it was either kind of go big or go home anyway. But now we have divided our media into so many micro categories that it really does not pay anymore to be a generalist, because if you are known for something, then you can get massive media attention, not just from the mainstream media, but from blogs and from social media as well. So if you can be first to a category or be the best at it, if you can serve an underserved market, build a tribe of followers, and then you can give that tribe what they're looking for, then you can really find success as a one-person brand or as a small company. So let's first talk about travel writing as a freelance writer. This is the thing a lot of people think of first when they think of travel writing. And I approach this a little differently. I think if you're already a freelance writer now, then great, but you should be doing other things and looking deeper than you looked in the past. If you're not one now and you're just a blogger, I'm not saying that as a derisive term, just a blogger, but if you're only getting your income from your blog, then I think you're kind of crazy not to be looking at freelance opportunities, because that could put an extra $300,000, $500,000 in your pocket each month. And if you're specialized in something, then it's probably articles you can write without a whole lot of effort. So what is your specialty? One of the worksheets you'll be able to download at the end dives into this. I've just got two examples here. Both of these guys have written for me before at the Latin American site. Christopher Baker is the guy you want to call if you want information on Cuba, if you want an article about Cuba or a guidebook. He's been there for 2 decades. He knows it inside and out, and there's not really any point in going anywhere else because he's your guy. It's not the only place he's written about. He's also written some guidebooks on Costa Rica, but he has set himself up as the Cuba expert. The guy on the right, Michael Summers, this is just his Twitter profile. He is the guy you want to call if you need something about Brazil. He's written multiple guidebooks about Brazil, articles in all the major travel magazines, and he is living there. So he knows the place inside and out. So the easy way to find travel freelance opportunities, if you're just starting out at this, the real obvious ways are to go look on job sites. And I've got a whole slew of those in the resources section of Travel Writing 2.0 at the back of the book. If you want to check that out, you send out queries to good matches. There's some information in there on how to do that, a sample template. You look around all the time when you're at newsstands or at doctor's offices or whatever for new markets. You look at databases. Post your profile where people can find you. And one of the best places to do that is Media Bistro's Avant Guild. You have to pay a little bit of money. I think it's like $60 a year or something, but well worth it. If you're an active freelancer, you can make that up with one assignment. And then, of course, network with other writers and editors. They are going to be the ones that will give you jobs. So you want to be in touch with them. But this is kind of the traditional way. And the traditional way is not working nearly as well as it used to. One of the frustrations I saw over and over again in the survey that I did with travel writers a few months back was the traditional freelance writers, the people that have been doing this for a long time, are getting very frustrated with pay rates, and they're getting very frustrated with magazines not accepting as much material. And you can kind of see why that's happening. On the right, there's a picture of Travel and Leisure. On the bottom, it's from 2001. And the one on the top is from a couple of months ago. So you can just see, even from this angle and this distance, how much thinner the one on top is. And Travel and Leisure is actually the #1 magazine in this vertical. So if you go down the line to like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th most popular travel magazine, then it really starts dropping off. I think these days, National Geographic Traveler is usually well less than 100 pages. And sometimes it has felt more like a pamphlet than a magazine. And this is happening all over the market. I mean, the magazine industry keeps trying to put a nice face on things, but the idea really is that their audience is getting older and older, and young people are not buying magazines the way their parents did. So look beyond that to new magazines that are starting up, custom publishing. Custom publishing is like hotel magazines like the Waldorf Astoria magazine, or the Fairmont magazine, things like that. Jaguar has one. Most of the high-end car companies do. There's a whole slew of others like Sony and I think Samsung has one, whatever. But they're out there. They're not being sold on a newsstand, but if you dig around, you can find them. And those editors don't get nearly as many queries. So go for the path of least resistance and go for those. There are non-travel magazines that use travel, of course. Foreign publications. If you live in the U.S., you can write for a foreign publication about where you're living and have a leg up there. Companies hire a lot of writers, whether that's organizations or whether it's real companies that are in travel, like tour companies and hotel companies, chains, things like that. They often don't have the bandwidth or the manpower to do all the content that they need created. So either they'll go looking for somebody, or you can just pitch them on an opportunity, on a solution to their problem, and you might get a recurring stream of revenue there to get $1,000 or $2,000 a month to be their blogger or to be their content creator. And of course, there are trade magazines. Some of these are online, some of them are in print. And then, corporate blogs and websites. So, just be thinking about these. I really do want to emphasize that sometimes the best opportunities are the ones that you go make yourself. If you can just do some, pitching out there and actually, pitch your services instead of waiting for things to come to you, then you can often get a lot more opportunities. But then also, if you specialize, you will find a lot more things falling in your lap. I get a lot of freelance opportunities coming to me on a regular basis because of my books, and it's not because I'm out there going after them. I'm a pretty lazy freelancer in terms of sending queries, but a lot of things will come to me because they know I'm the expert on a certain subject. So on the blogging side, again, if you are a blogger now, this will be some tips that you can hopefully take to the bank. If you're not one, this will help you avoid some problems and maybe become a better blogger when you do start going. So how are you standing out? That's the big question. Whenever I do consulting sessions with somebody, this is always the first thing that comes up. A lot of times they don't have a focus. There is no real angle to their blog. I can't figure out what it's about. Look at these right here. You definitely do not have that problem with these. If you're going to go traveling around the world with an autistic child, you are sooner or later going to end up on this blog. There's no doubt about it, because they show up highest in the search engines, and they are the ones that are going to, get quoted in the media and get linked to and all of that. And same thing, if you go down to the bottom, if you want to travel around Pennsylvania, you don't want to go to just the main sites everybody's going to, then you're going to visit Uncovering PA. Or on the right-hand side there, if you're going to Turkey and you got a lot of questions, you're probably going to go to Turkey Travel Planner. And who would have thought? But there's a whole blog that's just about food in Disney parks. And guess what? They have a much higher Alexa rank than I do, and probably anybody listening to this broadcast, because they have more traffic than any of us. Even though they're writing about a super specific thing, just food, and not just food at theme parks, food at Disney theme parks, but they get huge traffic. And just imagine the advertising possibilities there. Again, advertising probably comes to them. They probably don't have to try very hard to go out there and be pitching people all the time, because, if you're involved with Disney parks or hotels near Disney parks, this is a natural. It's a built-in audience. You might be saying to me, well, Tim, those are not like the most popular blogs in the world. I mean, to be huge, then you need to be an Instagram star, and you need to have a massive social following, and you need to be writing about everywhere in the world and be really general. Well, that's definitely not the case. These are some of the most popular blogs out there. A luxury travel blog, it's pretty obvious what that's about. And that's all he writes about. He does not write about anything and everything. He only writes about luxury destinations and hotels and attractions where you can travel high end. Souvenir Finder, this is a super popular site, but it's only about buying authentic souvenirs in the place you are. So when she goes out and writes, if you pull up this site right now, you'll see it's all it's about different places, but it's all about the craftsmen and the artisans and what you can find in those places. She's very focused and has been very successful as a result. And then at the bottom here is Solo Traveler. Not that there's, no other blogs about solo travel, but she staked it out early. She has a book out called the solo traveler. And she's quoted in the media, and she's really nailed down this market. And if you look, all her stories are about solo travel because that's what her audience wants. My joke is always nobody ever says, "Get me a generalist on the phone," because we don't need more generalists. It's been a long time since we've wanted generalists. And in the media world, our media keeps getting sliced and diced thinner and thinner and thinner into more subsets. It's a long tail world that we're living in. People are not searching travel, they're searching for super specific, very detailed subsets of travel. And if you can gather the tribe around that subset, then you've got a built-in audience who really cares. If you are looked at as the expert and the go-to person, then you will get called for quotes in the media. You'll get interviewed. You'll get podcasters calling you. People will link to you because you're an authority. They'll link to your authoritative post because it's the only one out there that goes into such detail and depth. You'll attract the tribe of people that are naturally interested in this. And why? Because you're going to be high in the search engines automatically. You don't have to spend a lot of time on SEO if you're the main person covering an area and you're doing it better than anyone else. Then Google's going to easily figure out that you're the expert and the authority. And that's supposedly baked into their algorithm, that if you write all about luxury travel in Latin America, as one of my sites does, guess what? You're going to show up on the first page of Google for almost everything related to luxury travel if you in that area. If you look at the domain rank, the Moz rank of that site, it's not all that great. It doesn't have thousands and thousands of links from high-profile sites, but it's very easy for the Google bots to figure out what that site's about and to send people there because they know it has answers. They know that it's an authority site that has very in-depth information. And then if you are specializing, you can easily sell advertising. Some of that will come to you without you trying. So instead of you getting sleazy guest post emails all the time that are about gambling sites in England or something, you'll start getting sponsored post requests and banner ad requests from people that actually want to be affiliated with your site because they want to reach your audience. They're not just looking for eyeballs. And of course, you can sell books, which brings us to our next subject. It can be a lot of work to write a book. It's like a major project. I mean, it can take you 6 months to a year to write one. And I interviewed 50 some people for my book, A Better Life for Half the Price, living all around the world. But it can really pay off. If you're an author, then you will have authority. People will trust you. They will think you're an expert, whether that's fair or not. It's what people think. How often do you hear on a podcast or a TV show, my next guest is the author of? You don't often hear them say, my next guest is a blogger who happens to be traveling around the world. That's not unique. There's tens of thousands of people doing that. But what is unique is you are the author of a certain book. And the more specific your book is, if it's a nonfiction book, then the easier it is to get those kinds of media opportunities. A book will support your business. A book will provide additional income. And it's not nearly as hard as it used to be. You can, if you don't care about the other booksellers, you can even do it straight through Amazon. And it's a very simple process these days. But if you do want to go beyond that, you can do it with a print-on-demand publisher and still get great royalties, or you can set it up site by site with the different online retailers. And then if you have a book out, these things all feed off of each other. I mean, if you're just a blogger, then the blog and the social side of this are going to be everything. And maybe every once in a while you do a guest post, or every once in a while you get quoted in the media. But mostly, most bloggers I know are just flogging social media all the time because it's the only thing they know, and it's what got them to where they are. And so they just keep doing more of that instead of looking for other opportunities. But if you have a book out, then a lot of those opportunities will come to you. And this all works in a synchronistic manner. Your blog supports the book supports the blog. The book gets you articles, it gets you media attention. People follow you on social media because of your book and your blog, and you're getting the right kind of people that are really interested in what you're talking about. But you can't just say, okay, I've been traveling around the world for a few years, I'm going to put a book out, and it's going to be all about my travels. And it's going to be so interesting. It's going to sell 100,000 copies because my stories are so interesting. Well, I got news for you. That is not going to be what most people want. If you go to the library, you'll see shelves and shelves of books like that sitting there collecting dust. If you go to the bookstore, you'll see a few of them on the shelves, and most of them get returned eventually, unless you're Paul Theroux or Bill Bryson or someone like that. Or if you just got divorced and you can write the next Eat, Pray, Love or Strayed. But, those are the books everybody hears about. And for every one of them, there's 1,000 that don't sell. You're much better off finding this intersection here of what you're really passionate about, what you really care about, enough to write, 300 pages about it, and what there's already customer desire for. Then that's a book that can actually make money. So people probably, sell whole seminars on this and courses, but I'm going to tell you real quickly how you write a successful book, a book that sells. You identify a need, and you go determine what people are talking about, what the pain points are, what their questions are. There are a lot of ways you can do this. You can look at message boards, Facebook groups. You can look at the comments on your blog. You can see what people are complaining about on podcasts and the news, whatever. But, the more immersed you are in a certain area, the easier it is for you to find this information. You can also send out surveys, of course, to your readers. And once you address the pain or answer those questions in a coherent manner, in an organized fashion, then those people are going to want that book. So you sell to those people, and then maybe you can sell them other things on top of that book, other reports, courses, live appearances, workshops, whatever. And then if it does well, you update the book and put out a new edition, and you revise it. Maybe you repeat the process and do a different book. But the idea is, after you go out and do that research and you've found out what the questions are and the desires and the pain points, then you can say, I know this people will buy this book because, and you can list the reasons. And any traditional publisher is going to want you to do this because they don't want to take a chance on you if you don't know the book's going to sell. So if you have a platform and you know the answers to these questions, what people are looking for, then you're much more likely to get a traditional publishing book deal. But I submit to you, that's a terrible way to make money. I would only do that if it's going to, support your business somehow, or you're a speaker, or you're looking for an ego boost. Those two books on the bottom on the next slide are traditionally published books, but they have not sold as well as the ones I've done myself. I'm not even close. And so I've not gone that route for many years, and probably won't go again unless I do a perceptive travel anthology or something like that would make sense in bookstores. The one on the left is the newest one, Travel Writing 2.0. It's the second edition. I did the first one in 2010. This is the second edition. The one in the middle is the oldest, The World's Cheapest Destinations. I put the first one out in 2002, the end of 2002. So it's been out there quite a while. And I knew it would sell because I went out and did a bunch of research beforehand, and mostly on the Lonely Planet Thorn Tree message board. I saw what people kept asking over and over and over again. They had the same questions. And those questions were, do I have enough money to travel around the world for a year? And where can I go on this budget? How much is it going to cost me in these places? So I could have used a book like that. And I knew if I put out one, there were plenty of people looking for that information. So it sold pretty well. I put out a second edition, then a third, and now it's out in the fourth. And next year I'll do a fifth. And I don't know how many copies it sold. A lot. It sold at this point through 4 editions, but quite a few. And then the one on the right is the most successful lately, Better Life for Half the Price. It's about how to move abroad and cut your expenses in half. Once again, I knew there was a market for this, if nothing else, based on my own blog, but I also saw other companies catering to this audience and doing a good job, but they didn't have quite this kind of angle to it. And so my most popular post every year was basically people looking for this book. And so I knew if I put it out, it would do well. And in the old days, people used to tell you, "Oh, there's no money in writing books. You got to be doing it for another reason." So people would just write a book because they wanted to be a speaker, or they wanted to get media attention, or they had a business and they wanted to support that business. There were only a few bestsellers that really made money at this, and a lot of estimates were somewhere in the neighborhood of 5% that even made back their advance, much less made real money at it. But times have changed. You can have a lot more control now. You can get a lot higher percentage of the royalties, and people, when they go on Amazon and buy a book, they really don't care where it came from. They don't care if it was Simon Schuster or Joe Schmo's book publishing imprint. As long as the information's good and it gets good reviews, then they're willing to plunk down their money for it. So here on the left is what I earned the past 30 days from Gumroad. That's just from A Better Life for Half the Price. The ebook versions, I sell those direct myself, so I can have more control and have an email list of buyers. But on the right is my royalties from Amazon for 1 month, and that's from the paperback of A Better Life for Half the Price and the paperback and ebook of The World's Cheapest Destinations. Add that together, it's about $1,700. It's a nice chunk of change. The reason there's so many lines there for Amazon is those are foreign sales. So like UK, Germany, Japan, whatever, it's usually only a couple each month from those other territories. So then, just to show this is not all about me, I want this to be useful for you guys. There are some other people that are certainly making more money than I am. And this is a guy who writes for me sometimes, a friend that lives in Mexico City. And he wrote this book, an opinionated guide for the curious traveler. He put it out, did okay, and then he put out a second edition last year that was prettier and longer, a little better researched. And he is outselling everyone. He's outselling Lonely Planet, Rough Guides, Footprint Guides, whoever. And you can tell here he said he made $10,000 last year from selling his book. And in January alone, he made over $2,000. He sent me this in February. I don't know how he did this past month, but probably just as well, because it's the #1 book in Amazon for Mexico, period, not just Mexico City. So it's doing quite well. So that's what you can make in a given month if you've got a book that's doing fairly well. And this is nowhere near the top 1,000 books in Amazon. I think he's in the 6,000 or 7,000 levels as far as ranking. So I'm going to wrap this up here, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not sure why you showed up today. Maybe you're struggling to pay the bills with this whole writing thing. Maybe you're kind of losing faith in whether there is real money in this or not. Or maybe your spouse or your parents have been giving you grief and telling you to get a real job. Or maybe you're doing okay, but you're frustrated that you keep working harder, but your income is not rising accordingly. Maybe you're doing more jobs for less money instead of it going the other direction. Or maybe you've seen other bloggers or freelancers, really do well, and you would like to see what they're doing that you're not, and see how these six-figure writers or bloggers are thinking and what they're doing differently. And I will tell you, one major thing they're doing differently is they're investing in themselves and their business. That can be something as simple as, hiring a virtual assistant and paying them a few $100s a month, to offload some tasks. It can be maybe that they're investing in, better tools for their business. Maybe it means, better software. They're willing to invest in courses. They're willing to invest in conferences. They'll pay to fly somewhere to attend a conference. I don't know where you are on the scale of how much you're willing to invest in your business. So I'm going to give you an easy way and a harder way. But Travel Writing 2.0, this is fresh off the press. It's got advice not just from me, but from 80 some other writers that are quoted in there, people that have found success through many different paths. So if you go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Kobo or wherever, you can buy the ebook for just $9, or you can get the paperback version for, I don't know, $15 or $16, and read it on your nightstand and never have to recharge it. And that's the easy way, and there's a lot of great advice in there, and I think you will make the price of this book back 100 times over without trying too hard if you just follow a few things in there and learn maybe a few techniques and a few opportunities that you have. So you can buy that book, and it'll probably change your game. It'll definitely give you lots of opportunities to earn more, give you lots of ideas. But what if you want to go beyond that? What if you want to either ramp it up faster or do it in a more confident way, in a guided way, depending on some other people for guidance and for help? That's where Travel Writing Overdrive comes in. After a lot of years of doing some hit and miss consulting, trying to help people out where I could, doing TBEX talks, all of that kind of thing, I realized I only have a few hours in a day, and I got a lot to get done. So I started this course to help other people from a self-study standpoint, and really some guided help for those who want some individual coaching that's directly related to their situation. So courses like this aren't cheap. You're going to have to look at this as an investment in your future. It's something you spend money on now in order to have more money later. That's one of the key things separating six-figure travel writers from the ones that are always struggling to get by, in my opinion, in my experience. The ones who are really doing well in their business treat it like a business, and they invest in it like a business. They spend money on coaching. They spend money on software tools. They spend money on paying for their own trips if it's strategic. They pay for help in the form of a VA and freelancers. All kinds of things like that are going to up their game. So here's what some other courses cost that are out there, just to give you an idea. These are online courses, basically self-study, except in a couple cases there is a private Facebook group, or in the third one there, they are going over some things that you've written from a real mechanic standpoint and looking at your travel writing. But mine is not really a writing course. It's a how to make money writing course. And with that emphasis on money, it's a lot better value as well. I want to make sure everybody comes out of this going, holy crap, I got so much value out of this. Okay, yes, I spent $199, but I made $2,000 within 6 months that I wouldn't have made otherwise. I really want you at the end of this to make 10 or 20 times what you paid for it, not just the 10 or 20 times you would get from maybe reading something online, reading a book, downloading an ebook. This is going to be much more intensive than that, and it will really show you concrete ways to step up your income, to get more income streams, to make those income streams larger, and to make more per hour. So if you want the self-study course, that's 12 modules, approximately 12 hours of material. There's homework. You will be required to work. You will be held accountable. You'll be posting your answers to some of these worksheets to the private Facebook group for others to see, because studies have proven over and over again, if you have people that you're accountable to and you actually put a stake in the ground, say, I'm going to get this done, then you're a lot more likely to get it done. So these modules build on each other. And over time, you will be accomplishing things just because you will be responsible for accomplishing things. It's not just a blogging workshop. It's not just a freelancing course. It's not just a book writing course. It's all of those things, because the whole idea of this is to expand your income streams and have money coming in from 10 or 20 different places, so you're not totally dependent on one thing or one style of writing or one kind of outlet. And so the self-study course does have a private Facebook group. There will be interaction with me and with all of the other students that are in there. So again, it's not just you out there alone on your computer. It's going to be you interacting with the other people also in the course. But if you want to go beyond that and have a little more personal attention, then the mastermind course is the way to go, because we will be having, you'll get everything you got in the other course, but we will be having regular conference calls to go over what's in the specific modules, so that you will actually get feedback from others in the group that are taking the course at the same time as you. You'll get feedback from me. You'll get your questions answered as far as am I on the right path? Is this the right tool? Do I need another resource that I should be consulting? And you will get one-on-one consulting sessions with me, one partway through the course and then one at the end, to go over your situation, what you can be doing in the blogging world, the freelancing world, or the product creation world, to really take your game to another level and really bring you up to a whole nother tax bracket, hopefully. So sign up at realmoneywriters.com, or you can see that button down there. You just click on that. Just one note, the mastermind part of this is not going to be continuously open. It's going to be opened up basically until the course fills up or till another month goes by, because everyone is going to be on the journey together. And so if someone comes in 2 or 3 weeks after everyone else has started, then they're going to be on a whole different section of the course, and it's not going to be coordinated very well. So the mastermind course, as I'm putting this up, is up for a week, and then it's going to be gone, and then we'll be back in a month later. So in this case, early April, and then the cycle will continue for the rest of the year for the foreseeable future.